Hello and welcome, my friends and viewers, to this week's episode of Legendlore, where I draw and talk about monsters, characters, and gods and other things from Dungeons & Dragons, all while giving a small but quickly digestible history about them. Together we'll go over their history within the game, how they utilize in the modern edition, and how you guys can utilize them in your own games. This week, since the last god that I covered was Moradin, god of the dwarves, it seemed that you guys found it appropriate for me to cover another D&D patron deity, that being the elvish god Corellon Larethian. Getting right into it, Corellon is the elven god of magic, music, arts, crafts, beauty, poetry, the sun, and warfare, and is often accredited with the actual creation of the elven race. His titles include the Coronal of Arvander, the creator of the elves, the Big Fairy by those who wish to insult him, and the Archeart from his depiction in Critical Role. His alignment is chaotic good, his holy symbol is a starburst, a quarter moon, or 2 crescent moons flanked over a star. His clerical domains are Arcana, Life, Light, and War. His worshippers include the elven peoples, as well as poets, beauticians, mages, warrior elves, and artists. Along with that, his favorite monsters are celestials, such as Easmar, Solars, unicorns, and lilians, fae such as centaurs, hypsils, dryads, and nymphs, elven offshoots such as the undead Baelnorns and the lycanthropic Lithari, and gold, silver, and song dragons. His favorite colors are blue and silver. His favorite minerals and gemstones are bellageral, diamond, moonstone, star ruby, and star sapphire, and his favor is shown through the presence of blue aura, a shooting star, or a rising blue-tinted crescent moon. In terms of appearance, Corellon is depicted as an androgynous elven figure, bearing golden hair, light blue skin flecked with stars almost like a galaxy, and is often seen wearing a pair of gauntlets and a sky blue cloak with a pin depicting his holy symbol. Corellon is also known to appear in both male, female, and gender-neutral forms, initially taking on the male aspect due to his relationships with his former lover, Lolth, and his now lover, Seanine, but that can change in order to accommodate the comforts of the person that they appear to. Personality-wise, while Corellon was known for sharing in elven pride and confidence, he was always willing to learn from others and act on new information, be it from gods, mortals, books, or other philosophies. With that in mind, Corellon was also a patron of arcane magic, and is often claimed to be the one who bestowed it upon mortals depending on the pantheon that he comes from. He believed in its free, open, and everyday use by anyone who could learn, not just the elven people. Beyond that, Corellon was also known to be patient, understanding, and largely peaceful unless pushed to the brink, such as with his long-standing feud with the orcish patron deity, Grumsh, who we've covered in a previous video linked in the description. But speaking of which, in terms of his relationships, Corellon's primary allies included his wife, Seanine, Illustre, his daughter by Lolth, and other gods of magic such as Azuth, Mystra, and Savras, as well as the larger pantheon of elven deities known as the Seldarine. In contrast, his enemies include gods such as Bane, Cyric, Malar, Talos, and of course Grumsh, his longtime nemesis, whose half-blinding is actually accredited to Corellon. Then there's also the Dark Seldarine, which is a pantheon of dark elven gods that are led by Corellon's ex-wife, Lolth, originally named Araushni and served as the elven goddess of crafts before her betrayal of him. This pantheon also includes their son, Veyron, as a member. In terms of Corellon's clergy and worship, there actually isn't a great deal of information on his rites and rituals regarding his faith, which I believe is due to his alliance with arcane magic and thus wizards and sorcerers. Most arcane practitioners were not particularly devout people, and didn't often worship gods in the way that clerics, paladins, and others do. I do believe that Corellon as a deity was okay with this because the worship of a deity and following its tenets can often erode their sense of personal responsibility and self-control, whereas a mage who wields magic is directly responsible for all of their actions and intent. With that said, there does exist a group called the Fellowship of the Forgotten Flower, an elven knightly order whose entire focus is on unearthing lost elven relics and finding and protecting long-lost locations of elven importance. This could be a particularly excellent organization for an elven PC to join, as well as a good center for quest giving regarding finding elven artifacts or hidden locations, and to possibly retake them from fiends, drow, undead, and so on and so forth. Now, in terms of how I like to depict Corellon at the table, I haven't really had a chance to break them out, but I have thought about how I would like to integrate them into the world. Corellon, in my opinion, champions exploration of one's identity, and thus believes that both binaries and labels should be both challenged and made to be personal to the individual person. Their ability to shift from male to female form at will is an ability that all elves have, and so self-expression and the concept of one's individuality is always prized above everything else. Because of this, Corellon doesn't have a regimented dress or holy symbols or holidays or rites, and thus I depict them more as a folk deity whose interpretation is up to the people that worship them, which results in their worship sort of being tailored to their beliefs, concepts, and regional focuses. Due to this, Corellon priests are often solitary and sometimes have conflicting agendas or intents, but ultimately this is what Corellon wants. He also would appreciate the focus on the creation of arts, culture, and other forms of expression, which can result in the founding of bard colleges, artistic and educational institutions, theaters, poetry slams, dance studios, and so on and so forth. This could be very useful in terms of world building for your kingdom's cultures, beliefs, and traditions. Finally, I also have a different concept in the chamber. Rather than Corellon being a physical deity, Corellon is more of a philosophy that the elves or elven peoples choose to align with. This is because in my own homebrew world, elves do not believe that gods who hold domain over knowable, understandable, or manipulatable concepts, such as the forge, laws, nature, and other things that they themselves can control, explore, and manipulate. To them, these gods are not worthy of worship, because these are concepts that creatures themselves can interact with and are thus not really unknowable, which is what they perceive a deity to be. Unknowable, something that they can't control, feel, experience, or wonder. As such, Corellon, quote-unquote, is more of a philosophy that the elves adopt, something that they aspire to match themselves to, focusing on the idea of self-expression, creativity, and the study of magic, which elves have an innate tie to on a biological scale. With all that in mind, here are a couple of classes and subclasses that I personally feel align well with Corellon for use in both PCs and NPCs if you're a dungeon master. For artificers, alchemists, and armorers fit very well under Corellon's magical aspects, such as an armorer whose armor is formed entirely out of starstone to reflect his galactic appearance. For barbarians, the paths of wild magic, arcane-flavored storm heralds, beasts, wildheart, and even the world tree can all fit with the more naturalistic and magical alignment of Corellon. For bards, almost every college can work for a balladeer of the Archeart, save for maybe the College of Spirits due to its focus on necromancy and the afterlife, which is not a concept that Corellon is heavily tied to. For clerics, the domains of arcana, life, light, knowledge, nature, and peace all fit for them, which can make for a wide variety of different clerical orders beholden to him and cleric characters for your game. Druids, while they are less arcane-focused, can still fit under Corellon due to the elvish veneration of the natural world, especially for the wood elves. That said, my personal favorite recommendations would be the Spirit Summoning Circle of the Shepherd and the Circle of Stars due to their galactic affiliation. For fighters, the Arcane Archer and the Rune, Eldritch, and Echo Knight all make for great Corellonian warriors. An army of elven fighters who are members of the Fellowship of the Forgotten Flower, made up of these different subclasses, can make for a great pack of NPCs to meet. For monks, their physical and martial focus makes them a little difficult to match the Corellon, but I do think that if you reflavor the ways of the four elements in the Astral Self monks to be sourced from arcane magic, this could be potentially interesting. For paladins, almost every oath, save for the Oath of the Crown, Conquest, and Oathbreakers, can fit well with Corellon's values, especially the Oaths of the Ancients, Devotion, and Glory. Rangers kind of function similarly to Druids, although I would recommend that the Horizon Walker and the Fey Wanderer subclasses are the most fitting for Corellon. For rogues, the Arcane Trickster, as well as arcane-flavored Phantoms and Soul Knives can also make excellent characters related to Corellon. For sorcerers, all bloodlines, save for the Shadow, Aberrant, and Clockwork, which all have distinct planar and monstrous alliances, can draw from Corellon's direct connections to arcane magic, especially the wild magic sorcerer. For warlocks, celestials always work great for deities, and a galactic angel in service to Corellon can sound very cool, and a hexblade who emulates Corellon's longsword or longbow could also be particularly interesting. And finally, for our wizards, save for maybe necromancy, all of the schools can fit very well for a Corellon worshipping character. In terms of magic items aligned with Corellon, here are a couple that I personally feel can function as good loot to find in Corellon temples and areas, as well as given as rewards to Corellonian worshippers or taken off of defeated Corellon NPCs. And finally, for our homebrew magic item this evening, we have the Half Moon Bow, a +3 longbow that requires attunement from an elf, half-elf, or a creature with access to arcane spell slots. This can include half-casters such as the Eldritch Knight, Arcane Trickster, and so on. The act of drawing across the bow conjures an arrow made entirely out of magical energy, so you never need to track ammunition, as the arrows vanish after missing or hitting the target. As such, all arrows from this bow deal an additional 1d6 force damage on a successful hit. The Half Moon Bow, once per encounter, can be used to send a line of star-like arrows down a 10-foot by 40-foot line as an action. All creatures within that line must make a dexterity saving throw or suffer 3d10 force damage, suffering half on a successful saving throw. Additionally, those who fail the dexterity save are also subjected to the effects of the spell Fairy Fire. The DC equaling 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your intelligence, dexterity, or wisdom modifier, which you choose upon attuning to this weapon. If this weapon is used ever to harm an elf, half-elf, or good-aligned arcane magical practitioner, the wielder becomes subjected to a 5th level cast of the spell Magic Missile, which cannot be blocked in any way, even by the spell Shield. I've included the item stat block in the description below, as well as a link to my Substack including the entire video script and transcript. And with that, That's Corellon, the Archeart, god of magic and the elves, everybody. I want to thank all of you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and press the little bell icon to be notified of future videos. If you guys want a chance to vote on the content of future videos, please check out the community tab, and if you guys want to get this entire video in script form, along with any stat blocks or magic items that I develop, please subscribe to my Substack, which is also included in the description below. DMs, please let me know how you guys have utilized, changed, or modified Corellon for your games, and players, please tell me how you guys have encountered, worshipped, or enacted with Corellon over the course of your adventures. And also let me know what you guys would like to see in upcoming videos. But until then, I'll see you guys next time.